I'd felt off for days, a dull, throbbing ache that started somewhere in my gut and crawled up my spine like an unwelcome shadow. I brushed it off at first, thinking it was just the stress of the quarterly strategy review, another round of endless meetings and hollow pep talks. But that morning, as I walked into the conference room, the ache sharpened into something more sinister. I paused at the door, bracing myself against the cool metal frame, wondering if maybe I'd eaten something bad. Years of being told to man up, to walk it off, had made me an expert at pushing pain aside, at masking it beneath a practiced smile. I'd worked through deadlines with a pounding head, showed up at every meeting with that steady, reliable nod that said I was fine. But today, as I shuffled past the polished glass walls and settled into my seat, something felt fundamentally different. A hollow pit of dread nestled itself under my ribs, and no amount of willpower could chase it away. The room was its usual blend of suits and scripted optimism, people flipping through printed decks like it was gospel. I watched the words on the screen blur and shift, unable to focus on the numbers that had once been my comfort. My boss, Alan, droned on about synergy and market share, his voice a steady hum that buzzed like a wasp in my ear. I tried to take a sip of coffee, but my hand trembled so badly that I had to set the cup down before it spilled. A cold sweat prickled at my hairline, rolled down the side of my face, pulling at my collar. My breath caught in my throat, tight, and labored like my lungs had forgotten how to do their job. I clenched the edge of the table, knuckles white, trying to ground myself in the polished wood. The comforting texture that had carried me through 1,000 boardroom battles. But the pain wouldn't be silenced. It started as a sharp twist, then spiraled into something that felt like a serrated blade carving through my abdomen. My vision doubled. The faces in the room blurred into smudges of worry and annoyance. I heard Alan say my name, sharp and clipped, as if I'd dared to interrupt his performance. I tried to answer, but the words died in my throat. Another wave of pain hit, so sudden and violent that I let out a sound somewhere between a gasp and a groan. I tried to swallow it down, but it was too late. My body betrayed me. I slumped forward, my head hitting the table with a dull thud that sounded like the world ending. I don't remember hitting the floor. I don't remember the startled cries, or the scramble of footsteps as people rushed to my side. The next thing I knew, I was on my back, staring at the ceiling's harsh fluorescent lights. Paramedics in blue uniforms crowded around me, their voices a blur of urgency and protocol. One of them, a woman with kind eyes, placed an oxygen mask over my mouth. "Breathe," she said. I tried, but each breath felt like it was tearing something inside me apart. My heart pounded like a trapped bird, wings fluttering, desperate to escape. Through the haze of pain, I fumbled for my phone. My fingers were clumsy, half numb, but I managed to unlock the screen. Alex. I needed Alex. She'd know what to do. She'd be there. Right? I pressed call. Listened as it rang. She answered on the third ring, her voice sharp, distracted. "Can it wait?" she snapped. "Brennan's got his big investor presentation today." I tried to tell her. Tried to say I was scared, that I needed her. But the words got tangled in my throat, drowned by the oxygen mask and the beeping machines. "Alex," I croaked. But she was already gone. She hung up without a second thought, leaving me to stare at the screen, her name fading like a ghost. I tried to smile, but it felt forced, like a mask that no longer fit. "I needed to move," I muttered. He nodded, the corners of his eyes creasing with worry. "I get it, but you also need to let yourself heal physically." And you know. He didn't finish, but I knew what he meant, emotionally, spiritually. Every way a person can be broken and stitched back together. We sat there in the alcove, the hum of the hospital a constant backdrop. Mateo pulled out his phone and scrolled for a second. "I got in touch with Soraya," he said. My stomach tightened at the mention of her name. Soraya had been in HR at my company once, a detail-oriented force of nature who never missed a discrepancy. "She's already looking into the insurance situation," Mateo continued. "It's weird. She found a ton of missing paperwork, like someone had flagged your onboarding file for deletion." I felt a cold shiver run down my spine. Flagged, as intentionally erased. Mateo met my gaze, his jaw tightening. "Yeah, she's sure of it." A sick feeling settled in my gut. I thought back to the months before this mess, when Alex had offered to help me with the benefits paperwork, just to be sure it all went through. She'd said it so casually, smiling in that way that made me believe she was doing me a favor. She'd been volunteering in HR at the time, a courtesy project Brennan had arranged so she could keep busy. I'd thought nothing of it. Why would I? She was my wife. The thought hit me like a punch now. "So it's possible," I said slowly, "that she deleted my benefits file on purpose?" Mateo's eyes darkened. "Yeah, man. It looks like sabotage." I felt my heart clench. A new kind of pain that had nothing to do with my surgery. All those nights I'd spent worrying about deadlines, about performance reviews and project timelines. All while the person who was supposed to have my back was quietly gutting my safety net. "Why would she do that?" I whispered, more to myself than to Mateo. He shrugged, but the answer was written in the lines around his eyes. "Maybe because it's easier to drain you dry when you're already hurting," he said. Or maybe she and Brennan needed a financial scapegoat. I don't know. I closed my eyes, breathing in the antiseptic air, letting the words sink in. The betrayal felt like a second wound, deeper and more jagged than the first. "Soraya is going to send me the full report," Mateo said, his voice gentler now. "We'll get to the bottom of it. I promise." I nodded, but my hands were trembling. I felt like I was standing at the edge of a cliff, the ground crumbling under my feet. Every memory of Alex's smile, every late-night text telling me she loved me, every morning coffee we'd shared, they all felt like lies now. Carefully constructed to keep me complacent. Mateo reached over and gripped my shoulder, steadying me. "You're not alone in this," he said. "We'll fight it. Every piece of it." I met his eyes, and for a moment, I saw a flicker of the old